Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our sixth Athlete to Entrepreneur panel. I almost lost track of which one it is. We started these back in October. We were like, we'll do them every once in a blue moon, maybe once a quarter. But we got such good feedback, we decided we're going to do them every month. So here we are. This is our sixth one. We got another amazing lineup of panelists here for you today. If this is your first time joining us, what we do on Athlete to Entrepreneur is we share the stories of current and former athletes who have now built an empire. They are on the road or have already built their journeys, their processes, their entrepreneurial ventures after sport. And the goal is to inspire that next generation of athletes. We want to show you, hey, it's not just LeBron James, right? Everyday people like you and I can become entrepreneurs too. So with that being said, it's a pleasure to have you here with us. I'm excited to kick this thing off. I'm coming to you live from my new home in Austin, Texas, and we're going to get to this amazing group of panelists that we have for you. So first up, this is my big bro. I've had the pleasure of connecting with this man over the past year. I'm going to give him a brief introduction, and we'll dive right into his story. Mr. Thomas R. Williams is an author, a speaker, a philanthropist, an NFL player engagement ambassador, and adjunct professor at USC. Thomas works with athletes, students, and professionals, challenging them to push beyond a mundane lifestyle and enter into a life of greatness. In 2008, after playing for USC, Thomas was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He then went on to play for the Patriots, the Bills, and the Carolina Panthers. Thomas's passion for helping athletes see beyond the scoreboard comes from his personal journey as he transformed from a successful football career to fulfilling his life's purpose of motivating and encouraging others in transition. He wants to instill in every student athlete the understanding that greatness does not exist in the jersey, greatness exists in the athlete. Please welcome to Athlete to Entrepreneur, Mr. Thomas Williams.
Taj, what's up, man? We're here. Let's do it.
What's happening, big bro? I get to go live with you twice in 1 week, man. I was just on the live with you on Monday. This is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. It's almost like back to back. It seems like it might be, remember, I don't know if you played basketball, AAU, or if you played like Little League Baseball and you had tournaments and you played like 3 games in the same week and you felt like a major league or a big time professional athlete. So here we are doing what we do best one more time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. You've been a major source of inspiration for me over the past few years, man. Shameless plug. Hey, anybody tuned in right now, go back and check out Author Spotlight on the Self-Published in 30 Days podcast. Go out and check out episode 87 of Thought After Sports. I interviewed Thomas. We did an in-depth, like hour-long interview, but we got the man himself in the building here again live today. Thomas, one of the things that I wanted to start out with, man, when I interviewed you last time, one of the things that's been sticking in my head that you said was that everyone talks about the 1% who make it pro, but nobody talks about that 100% of us who will retire. So let's just dive right in, man. Like, I know it's a loaded question, but how did Thomas Williams go from being an athlete to an entrepreneur? Hey, Thomas, can you hear me?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I got you.
Okay, can you just take us through what it was like when you finished your NFL career and you were trying to figure out the next steps? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, man. So I think with one, I love the athlete to entrepreneur mindset because so many of us get done playing and then we think we have to get into a normal, when I say normal, I mean like traditional, what everybody else is doing. So you go from being a superhero on the court or on the field, whatever your sport is, and then you almost have to take that cape off or that mask off. And then you have to turn into like a normal person, somebody who goes to work kind of, Monday through Friday, works your 40 hours, and you kind of look for those 2 days on the weekend. For me, I knew that I didn't want that lifestyle. And I knew from college that I couldn't. And I remember when I was in college and I had internships every off season, living in Southern California, living in LA. USC has a phenomenal they call it the Trojan family. So a huge network of people who love athletes and want to help them out. And so when I was in college, I used to have different internships every year. Because one, you get money. And two, you can pad your resume. And people always told me, man, you're going to have a resume when you're done playing, just like you had to have game film when you wanted to get recruited. So I was padding my resume and I was putting money in my pocket, making, like $12, $15 an hour, a couple of times a week. And I remember one day specifically when I went to, it was my 5th year, my 5th internship at a financial institution. I went and I was talking to one of the people at lunch and I said, so like you come here every day? And he was like, yeah. I was like, how long you been coming here for every day? He goes, it's like my 7th or 8th year. And I just remember, like, as we finished lunch and I walked back to my cubicle and I did my little job or whatever, I was like, sat back in my chair. I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this every day. Like, I cannot do this every day doing that. And so I kind of got a sneak preview into kind of like my future and what it would be like. So when I got done playing, that I knew that I couldn't just go into like the normal workplace. Like, I already had figured that out. And one of the things that I love teaching athletes about right now is that you don't necessarily need to figure out what you want to do. Sometimes it's actually equally as important figuring out what you don't want to do. And when I was 22 years old, I figured out that's what I did not want to do. Now, when I got done playing, for me, it was a little bit easier for me to find out what I wanted to do, but the struggle came as far as like the personal struggles, the identity search in the quest, trying to identify what's transferable skills. And then also too, I love playing football. I really love going out there and banging up my body and feeling sore the next day, like after practice, after a game, like, bruising your hands, your shoulders, your thighs, your legs. Like, I enjoyed that. So I understood that I wasn't necessarily going to do that. Like, I'm not going to try to get into MMA fighting or boxing or wrestling or anything like that. But I wanted to find something that I could still play the game. So one of the things that I love when I teach and when I help coach people through the transition of playing sports and not playing sports is, what did you love about your sport that you can do outside of your sport? So for me, I never stopped playing football. I just don't tackle people anymore. What do you mean by that, Thomas? Like, me, and like even this morning, like I just came from the beach workout. I had a 50-minute beach workout similar to when I was playing, right? You got the cones, you got the speed ladder, you're doing your jumps, you're doing your broad jumps, you're doing, your hip movements, your 4 cones and everything like that. Because you want to keep the mindset. And that's why I love athlete to entrepreneur, because when you keep the mindset of being a 1%er, that 1%er in high school, that 1%er in college, that 1%er in the league, when you keep that mindset that you can take that with you. No one said that when I get done playing that I can't do the speed ladder or I can't go lift weights or I can't work out. Now, how does that help me in my day-to-day business? Because just like in sports, there was never a coach that told me and said, Thomas, you can only have 5 tackles this game. Thomas, you can only have 10 tackles this game. Thomas, if you get 15 tackles, like, don't make any more tackles. Give it to somebody else. No, every coach told me, Thomas, make as many plays as you possibly can. Matter of fact, the more plays you make for you, the better we look as a team, the better we are as a team. And so it's the same thing when you're an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I mean, no one tells me that I can only make 5 phone calls a day, right? These are these cold calls. I can only reach out to 5 people on LinkedIn. You can reach out to as many people as you possibly can. So you're asking the question of, Thomas, how are you, what's the correlation between when you said working out, when you said being an entrepreneur, when you said being an athlete to now running your own company, is that there's literally no cap. And so when you're working out, for me in particular, I don't really start to enjoy the workout until it starts to suck. Because when it starts to suck, it's like, this is that fourth quarter mindset. This is like the training camp double days when you start to hear the little whispers in the locker room, or when you hear the whispers kind of like in the huddle or off to the side when people are like, man, this practice sucks, man. This is for the birds, man. Let's end it. And it's like, that's the mindset that keeps the entrepreneur still on fire. Setting a goal to what you ultimately want to acquire or accomplish, and understanding that you probably aren't going to get there. And that's okay. I wanted to make $50 million in the NFL. I never got there, but I was constantly pursuing it and pushing it. I want to, get drafted in the first round. I knew that was probably not going to happen, but I was constantly pushing towards it. The same thing now. I want to make, an additional $50,000 this year doing what I do. That might not happen this year, but I'm constantly pursuing it. I was never stagnant and never satisfied when I played, which made me, I think, part of that 1% club. And I'm doing the same thing as an entrepreneur of never being satisfied. Now, I'm not saying to never be satisfied and to be grumpy and to be anal, walking around just angry all the time, because I have a family. And so I don't want to necessarily put that on them. But as far as the competition between me and me, man, never satisfied.
Woo, that competition between me and me. I love that. And I love what you said about I don't play football anymore. Or just because I never stopped playing football, I just don't tackle people anymore. I might have to get that one tatted on me, man. I don't have any tattoos, but that just might be the first tat right there, man. Something else you shared about going from being a superhero to a normal person. I think that's a fear that a lot of athletes have, man. And it's very difficult, like you said, to have that tenacity, no matter what sport you play, that competition with yourself, that going hard, that competing with your teammates, just to go into an environment where a lot of people don't have that same mindset. I think that's one of the most challenging things as well, when you find yourself not only not knowing what you want to do, but being somewhere where you have that environment that's pushing you to be greater, so that you can push yourself to be greater.
Yeah.
Um, and I know, Thomas, you didn't just wake up and create the life that you did today. So I think it would be interesting for people to hear how you not only brought that tenacity of the football mindset into your everyday life, but how you decided, I want to apply that mindset to this particular route. So how did you start to carve out a lane for yourself and build a life where you could even transfer over all the things you took from football into what it is that you do now?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I want to be able to pause that question if we can. And this is why I want to pause it, because you said something extremely important right there, which I think we can give the listeners and the audience a valuable gem of when you step off the field or off the court, you lose that competition with your teammates. You lose that competition with your opponent and with yourself. So then the majority, when you're in a locker room or when you're in an athletic setting, you're the majority, right? Everybody's ultimately competitive, high level of achievers. They want to continue to rise, continue to grow, continue to grind. Now, when you step out of that realm, it's kind of people who are just okay with being mediocre. That's just what it is. That's human nature. That's how they've been trained. That's how they've been conditioned, and that's what they do. What the challenge is that how do you find your new tribe? How do you find your Taj? How do you find, like the other night, Rennie, Laura, my fiance is my teammate who is competitive. She is in the tech space, and so she's ultimately competitive, not with her coworkers or her teammates, but with herself. She's grinding up at sometimes 4:30 in the morning on a Zoom call because it's an international Zoom call. She's grinding at 7 p.m. at night with her cohort that she does with her own philanthropic arm. And so I'm literally listening in the other room and I'm like, oh, she's getting it. I gotta get it. And it's just like when you're on the field, and I'll never forget when I was like a sixth man in basketball, but only played football. So I was like the next man up, so to speak. And so we would play games, and guys like Ray Malaluga, Brian Cushing, Keith Rivers were making plays, Clay Matthew making plays. And that got me excited when we're playing a game and these guys are out there making tackles for losses, interceptions, sacks. And I'm jumping up on the sideline like, coach, let me in. Let me, coach. They're having so much fun. Let me get some of that too. Not, I hope they do terrible so I can shine. It's like, I want them to do so good because we have a level of expectation when we're stepping on the field. We have a level of expectation when we're grinding together. And so with that level of expectation comes an accountability. And so what we have to do is we have to find that new tribe. And so that's the encouragement. That's the challenge. That's the task, is that now you went from a player to a recruiting coordinator. So a player, meaning I was getting recruited to play on these teams. Now I need to recruit new people in my tribe that I already know the type of environment I want. I want ultra competitive, people who expect greatness from themselves, accountability all the way around. Everybody holds themselves more accountable than they expect the accountability from others, and people who ultimately want to shine and get to where they want to go. Now, so that was for that. And so really helping people understand it's all about your team. I played on some teams that were phenomenal, 59-6 in college, USC. I understand what that culture is like. I played for the Buffalo Bills when they were trash. I played for the Carolina Panthers when they were trash. Just being real. I played for terrible teams. I played for the New England Patriots when they were good. I played for Jacksonville Jaguars when they were trash. I understand what a trash culture looks like, and I understand what the expectations of great cultures look like. All it is that everybody had the same salary cap. Everybody had the same number of scholarships. Everybody had the same numbers and the variables across. What is it? It's the culture. It's leading from the inside out. It's the expectations of one another. It's also the general. It's also the head coach. How they allow things to happen is exactly what people will fall in line to. You have people like Pete Carroll. Everybody knows what they're getting. People like Bill Belichick. Everybody knows what they're getting. Our coaches at the teams that I talked about that were terrible. The Bills, when we were terrible. They're good now. They were terrible then. Carolina, they were terrible. So there's no surprise. You know what I mean? So we got to find that. Now, for me, understanding in my mindset was, if I'm part of a $13 billion a year entity, I can at least be very successful doing this thing by myself because I understand the dynamics. And when you can understand the dynamics of how something goes, then you can just plug and play, copy and paste, what I love to say. And so for me, it was, I literally took out a sheet of paper, Taj, that had our schedule. And I'm trying to look around for it, but I can't find it. But that literally had our schedule of my last training camp in the NFL. It was wake up at 6, breakfast at 7, get taped at 7:15, 7:30. You know, you're in this meeting. And I literally pulled out this thing from start to finish. I was like, there has to be something in this because every NFL team that's worth billions of dollars runs this same type of schedule. So let me take the same schedule start to finish, and now let me change what they used to write, and now let me put what I need to write. So what does that mean? That means Thomas waking up at 6. First thing I need to do is I need to read and pray. So I don't need to get taped anymore. I don't need to go to film study anymore. I need to find out what is that for me. So now I need to read. I need to study. I need to do my own personal development. I need to read my Bible. Okay, great. Now this thing says go to an offensive meeting, defensive meeting. My structure is, okay, now I need to reach out to people who are in the industry who are doing what I'm doing. Call Taj. Taj, what are you working on, man? Oh, really? That's cool. Call my other mentors. John Gordon, other people who are in that space who are still doing things, who can elevate me, who can keep me accountable. This is the same stuff that I was doing when I was playing, but now I'm doing it completely different in a sense of you just have to change what those meetings were like. You know, so many times as athletes, we just try to go off completely all the way and figure it out. Okay, I'm going to start this thing from the ground up. Don't start it from the ground up. Why would I start something from the ground up when I'm 100% positive that this works out? I'm 100% positive that this works out with this way. You work hard, you work for this long, you're going to get this amount of success. Now, if you don't work hard, you don't work intentional, and you don't work this long, then this is what you're going to get. So with that being said, is that, man, I'm really lucky to have experienced some of the things that I've experienced as far as being around the Tom Brady's of the world, the Bill Belichick's, winning national championships, going to playoff games, that I was able to watch and observe. And I'm also lazy enough to figure out, I don't want to figure it out brand new anymore. I don't want to try to recreate it. I want to just copy and paste. If it works over there, then it definitely can work over here.
Man, I'm loving this conversation, Thomas. I'm loving what you're sharing. I love how you share. I'm just lazy enough to copy what works, to copy what's genius, to copy Jesus. I always say I'm ambitiously lazy, meaning I want to work hard. Obviously, we have a football background. There's no issue with waking up every day and putting in work, but at the same time, you want to be putting in work with the right thing. I got a page full of notes over here, man. I wanted to touch on something else you said, where a lot of us, before we identify that we need to find that team, we go into lone wolf mode. I know I did for sure, which really doesn't make a lot of sense to go from this tight knit group of team to I just got to figure all this out by myself. And like you said, start from the ground up and do it on my own. It actually took me until I was about 26. I think that's when I reached out to you. That was like 3 years ago. I reached out to you. Hey, Thomas, I love what you're doing. I want to do something similar. I don't want anything. I just want to be on your radar. And from there, that was the mindset that I started realizing, okay, I need to connect with other people. I need to get with people and run with people who are going in the same direction, and even with like self-publishing 30 days, you mentioned having a good head coach and following that. Like Darren Palmer, the founder of Self-Publishing 30 Days, is a great coach, a great leader who creates that environment for a team where I don't have to do everything on my own anymore. I can run with a team now. And that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
Now, you do so many different things. When I was reading your bio, and I know all this about you anyway, but like some stuff has been unveiled to me over the years since we connected. I didn't know about the adjunct professor position that you hold at USC. I didn't know about the NFL player engagement board. I didn't know about any of these. But can you just walk people through how your journey started to unfold? I know you were already doing some speaking engagements and things like that while you were playing. But what happened from there, and how were you able to just get to this place that you're at right now? I think it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, it started out as my fiance and I were talking last night about serial entrepreneurs, and the question arose between us was, do serial entrepreneurs know that they wanted these 3 to 4 or 5 different companies or these things that are inside of them? Like, does Elon Musk go, hey, I'm gonna be, I'm 18 and I know I want to go into like PayPal, and then I want to create Tesla, like I want to do, electric cars, and then I want to do space, like, or does one kind of lead to the next. You have a couple conversations, you build relationships, something inspires you to kind of go to the next. Like, how is it? Like, I'm so fascinated with that aspect and that part. So for me, including myself in the conversation, I guess the answer that I had of the question last night is that I never knew I would end up here. I started, it's having the mindset very similar to like playing ball, of like growing what you know, give something everything you have, because then it's going to give you all that you deserve. And so giving football all that I had gave me so many transferable skills. It gave me so many life lessons. So now you can teach on it. So for me, I've always loved being in front of a crowd. I literally like I tell my parents all the time, like I was practicing speaking in class when I was in elementary school. I just used to talk at the wrong time. And I used to get kicked out of school. Now I get paid to go back to school and speak in schools, which is so ironic. There's really a conversation inside of that. So for me, like being a middle linebacker, I stood in front of 10 people. When I transitioned, I wanted to still be a middle linebacker. How can I stand in front of people and get them fired up on their assignment, their job? Oh, okay. So there's this thing called motivational speaking. So then I just started motivational speaking, talking. Hey, you know what, man? We have somebody then reach out to me and said, hey, the NFL has a program for speakers going back into colleges. I'm like, this isn't outside of what I do. I'm a communicator. I effectively communicate with people, getting them to see the things that they don't even believe that they can do. Got it. So when that came, in front of me, I was like, sure, let's do it. Then I did that for a little bit longer. Then you start to get introduced to more people who are like, hey, I think you would be great for this. A couple years fast forward, I get introduced to a coach. I actually wrote it down 3 days before it happened. I wrote it down. I said, just like I needed a really good coach in football, I need a really good coach in motivational speaking and personal and personal and professional development. I get introduced 3 days later to my mentor and friend, John Gordon. So then after that, somebody calls me and says, hey, it was at USC. They needed a couple of slots filled for their summer program, somebody to come in and teach on identity, teach the athletes, on transition, teach them on social media etiquette, teach them on, how to network. I was like, sure, I'll do it. So I did these couple of, one-offs for the next couple of years. And then I was like, hey, is there any more opportunities to do something else? They were like, yeah, we have this class that's run weekly at USC for the incoming freshman student athletes. You would be great for it. Cool. PhD 165. You want to be a teacher? Yeah, I do. Sure, let's do it. If I can be in front of athletes, speaking to them about transitioning to the next level of play or transitioning outside of sports, I'm all for it. So the number one thing, with answering that question is that you go full throttle with what you're already doing. Like there's so many times along the way, people would try to say, you know what you should do? You should do sports commentating. Like, the game, like you can speak. And so I tried it. I really did. I tried it for one season. It sucked. I hated it. Like, shout out to everybody who does it. It's just not for me. Like, it's not. And so the same thing when people are like, you should try, personal training. And I used to put together some like group workouts. I was like, this is not for me. I don't like it. Like, so other people tried to pull me outside and away from what I was called to do. But then you do it, then you find out that this isn't what I should be doing. This isn't what I'm passionate about. Yeah, sure. Could I do it? Absolutely. But what's calling me is the athlete's transition. What's calling me is personal and professional development with corporations and executives. Awesome. Let's go down that line. And the more I would do it, the more opportunities inside of that would do it. It's almost like, you remember playing Mario Kart, like on Nintendo 64, and like when you're driving your Mario Kart, you go regular speed, but then when you hit that green arrow, it just zooms you, like zoom, zoom, zoom. And so I feel like when you're in your zone, when you're in your lane and you're hitting, like you're doing what you're called to do, what your purpose is, what's pulling you, you're literally driving on those green arrows. Zoom, 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 zoom. Like it goes by fast, it goes by quick. Anytime you get pulled out is when you start going average and normal speed. So you're going to be on the same road, but would you rather get there quicker so you can enjoy more of it longer? Or would you rather just drive and just say, man, I'll get there whenever I get there? For me, I want to grow. I want to elevate. I want to keep advancing. I want to see, to be honest with you, I want to see if I'm part of the 1%er inside of this lane, just like I was part of 1%er playing athletes. Like I'm constantly asking the question, and I feel like I'm going to have an answer by the time I die, is athletics and sports the only thing I was ever great at?
Well, we already know the answer to that, Thomas. That's quite evident in everything that you do, man. Oh, let me let this dog out real quick before he goes
Yeah,
crazy.
go ahead, man. You gotta let the puppies out.
Yeah,
you don't ever want to let the puppies stay in, man, because they're gonna let you know. They're gonna let you know, hey, I don't appreciate that. And you're gonna come home to a nice surprise.
Yeah, he was going nuts. I had to let him out. But something else, I love that analogy you gave of the green arrow. YB said, "This is great info." I agree, YB. And thank you for being here, sir. Thank you for tuning in. I love the analogy of the green arrow you gave from Mario Kart, because to your point, figuring out what you don't want to do is just as important as figuring out what it is that you want to do. And like you said, once you're locked in on that, you hit those metaphorical green arrows and you just ride it all the way out. So I think a perfect way, I would love to get some advice, because I know we have a lot of former athletes who tune in and they may be in that lost stage and they may say, yeah, Thomas, that sounds great. I'm glad you found your way, but I've been out a few years now. I'm struggling because this was me. And, I didn't know about you 2 years later. Otherwise, I definitely would have reached out. But a lot of people say, I'm just lost, man. I'm trying, I'm working these jobs. I don't know what it is that I want to do. I can't find that thing that lights me up or inspires me to put the work in the same way I did with my sport. So for those athletes out there who are lost, can you just give any sort of advice on how to, I call it like the process of discovery, how to start to find clarity around what it is that they want to do so they can start going full throttle towards it?
Yep. So here's what I keep next to me all the time. I don't know if you can see it, man.
Time is nowhere. Yeah, time is nowhere. I can see it.
Or what else do you see?
Or can you hold it up a little bit? I don't see anything.
Time is now here.
Oh, okay.
So now we can get into the conversation, Taj. I keep this here all the time for a reason, because when I was struggling, I thought time was nowhere. But when I looked at the situation and the opportunities different, is that time is now here. I walked into church 3 days after I retired, and I heard the song of Amazing Grace of "My chains are gone and now I'm free." I thought football was my purpose, but it was my passion to lead me through my purpose. So the thing is what we have to understand is that where do we feel like we're getting called to? What's pulling us? So anybody who's lost, anybody who's in that stage of stagnation, what's pulling you? Not because football, sometimes we used to have to run towards it. We have to go towards the goal. Now, when we find ourselves with 24 hours in a day, what's pulling us? What's the momentum that's pulling us? There's something that's calling your attention. There's something that's calling your energy. When you can identify what that is, then you don't go into, it's literally a shift of momentum. You don't have to sit there and keep running towards this. I don't even have to think about it. Now, for me, I'll give you a perfect example. We just moved to a new spot. And so for me, I have to think about where to put things. My fiance has literally, she can literally walk into a room, go, here's here, here's here, here's here, here's here. For me, I have to think about it, and it's draining. That's not calling me. But when somebody calls me in the lick of 5 minutes, I literally need 30 minutes to put together a presentation, a PowerPoint, or a coaching program to help people transition and get out of their way and open up their perspective. Literally shifting them from time is nowhere to time is now here. That's what I do. I can do it. I know it. We can go and work out right now. It will take me 30 minutes to put together a workout. That's what I know. So what we have to do first is you have to figure out, what is it that you want to do? Well, I don't know. Well, what is easy for you? What's calling you? Because now more than ever, you can make money, you can make a career, you can make a business out of anything. And so if you're trying to figure out what it is that you should be doing, literally sit there and figure out, where are you spending most of your time? Where are you spending most of your time? Back in the day, people used to tell us we were wasting our time playing video games. Now they're giving out scholarships for video games. Now they have these things called esports, and they have like E3 where they have these conferences, they have these tournaments where literally people are making millions of dollars playing video games. There's something inside of you. I chose to help athletes because for me, I wanted to find a void. The void was, where can I go when I'm done playing? Since there was nothing that I felt that was helping me, I found myself wanting to be part of the solution. You need help transitioning outside of sports? Cool, I'm your guy. I want to help you. Why? Because I had to go on the journey and I felt alone by myself. You want to go to the next level of your business? I'm your guy. But you want to buy a house as in real estate? I'm not your guy. There's a lot of money. It's extremely lucrative. I'm not your guy. You want to sit there and you want to decorate a house, interior decorating, whatever it is, like, I'm not your guy. I know what I'm good at. And so what we have to do is very similar to sports. You might have to take a piece of paper, write it down. Take a pen, write it down. Because what happens as athletes, what we do is we write down our 40 times. We know how high we can jump. We know how many times we can bench press 225. We know all of these things about ourselves. So it's not saying that we can't do it. We just need to shift our perspective and say, what am I good at? Where am I spending most of my time? You can go to your phone. If I go to my phone right here, it will sit there and say, this is where you're spending all of your time. In this app, on this, doing this. So when we can take those things, very similar to like when we played sports, and we can say, I'm good at this, then that's where we can find our purpose. Because again, you have to look at it as time is nowhere or time is now here. Time is nowhere means that the best days are behind me. The jersey, the helmet, the cleats, the scoreboard, the best days are behind me. But when you say time is now here, finally I have all my time. Coaches told us everything to do. Coaches told us what to eat, what time to get there, how much to weigh, what position, where to look, how to step, how to stand. That's time is nowhere. Our time was gone. Our time was taken. When you say time is now here, that means you literally get all of your 24 hours in a day. You can choose what you do. If it's something that you really ultimately want to do, there's no coach telling you that you can't score as many points as you want. There's no coach telling you that, hey, you only get 2 series, you only get, 2 possessions. No, you have 24 hours in a day. It's up to you. And so you have to answer the question, am I just a great athlete, or am I a great person who just so happened to be a great athlete? Is the jersey that makes me, or is it the person who wore the jersey? Look, I can tell you this right now. I wore number 41 in high school. I wore 41 in college. I wore several numbers in the league. Everybody is still wearing my jersey. Everybody's wearing my jersey in Carolina. Everybody's wearing my jersey at SC. Everybody's wearing my jersey at Vacaville High School. Meaning, I'm the one that wore it like I did. You're the one that wears it like you. Can't nobody wear it. They can wear your number, but they can't rock it like you. And so the same way you deal with that is the same way you live your life now. Well, I'm lost. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're just not doing the work. I tell you right now, I can tell I was reading the other day, Oscar De La Hoya is getting ready to come back and box. He ain't got no business coming back and boxing. Mike Tyson and all these dudes. I loved it. I watched it. But like, when we can still do it. And if you can motivate yourself to go play a game that you used to play, still right now, hey, let's go. Hey, Taj, let's go out there and do 7-on-7, man. Let's go get right. Oh, shoot, man, let's go. If you can do that, you just have to take a little bit of time. Again, because it's now here. You take a little bit of time and that you dedicate it to what you're doing now. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Get around people who are doing the things that you want to do, or get around people who aren't using a crutch. There's a thing, and I'll leave with this, man. I get fired up. That's literally what drives me, and what excites me is that thing right there, is that there's a stigma saying that what we used to do is all that we'll ever be, not knowing that what we can become is greater than we've ever been. Got to understand that. And so the thing that I really resonate with that is that when I was in New England, inside of the training staff room, they had this amazing sign. And the sign said, never allow what you can't do interfere with what you can do. Never allow what you can't do interfere with what you can do. And that's what we're having a trouble with now, is what we can't do is interfering with what we can do. Well, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. So, and man, and biblically, it's like understanding at the very beginning of the Bible, it said, God said, don't eat from this tree of knowledge of good and evil. Like, he didn't say, don't go to other trees. He said, don't go to this one tree. It's like, the one thing that we can't do, play sports anymore, is interfering with what we can do, is what is infinite. 100% of us have to retire. 100% of us have to transition. Even though we talk about the 1% of us that get to go play college sports, that get to go play professional sports. And all them fools are going to retire too. All them jokers are going to retire too, and they're going to have to find out what they want to do. So all of us are in the same boat. In the competition, the competitor in you is that anybody can do it once. That's called luck. Anybody can play sports. Anybody can go to that next level in sports, but can you do it again? Is the grind greater in you, or is it greater in that jersey, man?
Oh, Thomas, you got me fired up on a Saturday afternoon, man. See, this is why I want to have you on the panel, man. I appreciate you. The time is now here, folks. The time is now here.
It's now
Man,
here, man.
that's right. It took me a minute to get it, but I got it. I got it now for sure. You really brought it home with that one, man. That's a perfect way to wrap up. Thomas, I thank you for your time. I thank you for pouring into the people who are tuned in right now. This was phenomenal. Like I said, you got me ready to start doing some push-ups and go run around the block right now, man. Before we get out of here, I know you're you're very private. You're a family man. You don't want just anybody and everybody reaching out. So we're not gonna plug the social media. Like I always crack a joke. If you want to get in touch with Thomas, you got to go through me. I'll vet you first to let you know if it's a good fit. But is there anywhere you want to point people to, or just any parting words before we wrap up?
Yeah, man. I want to point people to here's what I'm big into right now. I was listening to some stuff this morning on the workout, and there's a cat by the name of Inky Johnson that I'm listening to right now, man. I'm really going down the rabbit hole of Inky because I love his spirit, I love his energy. So I would encourage everybody. I'm gonna point you to, not to me, I'm gonna point you to find a person who's doing what you want to do, and making sure that you're investing your time wisely in how to get engaged with them. Study them, listen to them. Right now, we have an ultimate ability to connect with people without ever connecting with them. So find some people that are doing the things that you want to do. If it's transitioning outside of sports, find some of their podcasts, find their platforms, listen to them. They'll coach you up along the way. It's actually free coaching if you really think about it, through YouTube and through, Apple, iTunes and whatnot. So find those people, man, and understand that where you are is never too late. And if you continue to, not even continue, if you have any type of regret or if you have any type of judgment towards yourself, the process is going to be a lot longer and harder than it needs to be. Start now, because the time is now here, not the time is nowhere.
Boom. We'll wrap it up with that, folks. You just heard from Thomas Williams. Thomas, thank you for all the work you do, man. Thank you for all the ways you've been able to pour into me, and for the way you pour into others, and for just being a great servant. YB says Inky's dope. He has a few podcasts called Serendipity. That just goes to show, I think that speaks to the type of man you are, and say, hey, I'm going to point you in the direction of someone else who can help you. You already helped us enough today, man. So, Thomas, I'm going to let you go. I know you got things to do. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll be in touch very soon, big bro. I appreciate you.
You know how you do it, man. I love this thing that you're doing, man, and the stuff that you're doing. I mean, you're such a great example for the people who are in transition, who want to transition, who want to do more. You're not sitting there saying, woe is me. You're sitting there saying, what can I do? And so you're a wit, not a wham, man. I'll leave you guys with this. Wit is a WIT, whatever it takes. Wham is a what about me. You can't win with what about me's, but you can win with WITs, whatever it takes. And Taj, you are whatever it takes.
Drop the mic, Thomas. Thank you, big bro. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Man, folks, how about that Thomas Williams? I wasn't joking, man. He got me fired up right now. I feel like I need to go get a workout in or something. And I already worked out this morning. All right, next up, we got my sister in the building, Tamika Newman, Houston's very own H-Town stand-up. All right, you're not ready for this bio I'm about to read. I was reading this last night. Like, I have to get into the right frame of mind before I read this to you guys. Shattering the glass ceiling, setting a new standard, leading the way, and winning best describes Tamika R. Newman's journey. Tamika's passion for sports and her desire to help students in underserved communities has kept her in coaching and education for over a decade. She's the author of Grateful and Greedy, challenging and redefining what it means to win in life, as well as the owner of Grit and Grind Athletics, which we will definitely talk about. Grit and Grind Athletics is a service dedicated to giving coaches and athletes the tool to achieve optimal performance on and off the playing field. In addition, she's an assistant volleyball coach at Prairie View A&M University. Please welcome to Athlete to Entrepreneur, Miss Tamika R. Newman.
Hey!
What's going on, Tamika? How you doing?
I am great. Outside of the fact that you have me going behind Thomas, and I was like, this is a hard act to follow.
Oh, please. See, you got your own act, though. That's the thing. You got your own act. And that's why I wanted to have you on here. I know you have a busy day today. We were talking about that beforehand. So if at any point you need to go, just let me know. All right.
Yeah, I got about 110. I'll be good. 110 is great.
Okay, perfect. Then we got plenty of time to let you rock this thing because I know there's a lot you can share. So just take us through really quickly because you and I had a conversation a while back, and you were telling me some of the challenges you faced, not only through your transition, but as you got into the coaching world. And that was actually the catalyst that launched you into starting Grit and Grind Athletics and doing everything you are today. So can you just take people who are tuning in right now through your journey of when you finished playing and what that process was like, and we'll pick it up from there.
Awesome. So I played basketball and volleyball at Prairie View A&M. That's a small HBCU, about 50 miles outside of Houston. And my goal when I went to college, I wanted to be the next Pam Oliver. I wanted to be a sideline reporter. And I dabbled in that in college. So I was in communications, and then I would work in the athletic with sports information when I was in the off season. So I had a great career in volleyball. I only did basketball the first 2 years, finished up with volleyball. As good as a career you can have at a small school, made it to the NCAA tournament, was conference player of the year. And I did an internship with the radio station in Houston. And it was awful. You know, I was like, okay, I'm going to go here, do some do-girl work, busy work. And instead of that, I was pretty much invisible, right? I was invisible. Not to mention, I was a little bored with the content. They were kind of just, you know, sports gossip, right? And I was really interested in color commentating, analyzing the game. I was really good at that. And I knew that there was a climb you needed to make before you could do that. But so I was ignored for 6 weeks. I said, what am I going to do? Right. And I didn't have a blueprint. So I want to be clear and state that I had no blueprint because no one in my family had graduated college. Right. And no one had went to college on an athletic scholarship or any kind of scholarship. And now I have fought imposter syndrome the entire way in college because I have no blueprint. And now I went and earned this degree, and I have no idea what I want to do. So I went to graduate school, became a graduate assistant, and I took a kid. I went to coach at a charter school while I was a grad assistant. My best friend's dad called me back to the neighborhood and said, hey, I think you'll be a great fit to work with these girls. I go and coach at this charter school, take a kid home, and the kid clearly has no running water. There's no lights. And I know what that looks like because I'm from the neighborhood, right? I can tell. And in that moment, I decided that I wanted to kind of stand in the gap for kids that were growing up like that. And I was from low resource. It never got that bad for me. But I was inspired that day and said, I think I want to be a coach. And so I got certified to teach, and I became a coach. And very quickly, I realized a few things. It was partly due to my attending an HBCU for undergrad and grad that I didn't pay much attention to the color of the skin of volleyball coaches. I was coached by white coaches. It was fine. I was coached in college by, Black coaches, and I was immersed in HBCU volleyball culture. And I coached club, and it was mostly white. And so, but somehow I overlooked the fact that no Black coaches were really coaching at a high level high school in Houston, where volleyball is huge. It's huge in the state of Texas, period. And decided to pursue being a head coach. And the first went on 7 interviews. So I got in, I was a JV coach, and then I was a club travel coach. And I said, I want to be a head coach. I went on 7 interviews, and the first 3 people called me back and offered me to be the basketball and track coach. And I was like, I didn't even look to see that y'all had those openings. I'm here for volleyball.
Right.
And it dawns on me, and I just kind of look around and, whoa, this isn't a thing. There are Black coaches or women of color in the inner city, just outside the city, but in the suburbs where volleyball is king, there was one. There were 2. And so long story short, I I gave in an interview for a varsity assistant job, which is pretty high up there. And that coach interviews me and said, you should be a head coach. And she's a white lady, and she recommended me for the sister school down the street. And I went there for 5 years. And the interview issue with being offered to be a basketball and track coach was just the beginning of what I dealt with for the next 10 years. And from just lack of buy-in, like I said, I didn't come from the prestigious University of Texas or Rice. So just played low-level volleyball, and so just didn't get the respect of other coaches where they could walk in the gym and command respect. When I walk in the gym, the questions start coming. Can you do this? Do you know what you're talking about? And so 2019, I had a really crazy year. I coached at a really affluent school, and probably the most overt racial actions happened. And I started thinking about, you do something for 10 years and you just start feeling like a professional. And I thought I had a very good knack on volleyball. And I knew that because I go watch some college practices just as some professional development, and they weren't far off from some of the way that I trained my kids. I felt really good about that. My kids were starting in college. They were starting, they were competing. I was getting great feedback about their preparedness mentally and physically. So I knew that I was doing the right thing. I was like, how could God be sending me a sign that maybe this is it for me? And I went into coaching for impact, and specifically low income kids in low resource areas. And I wanted to win so bad. And my book talks about this, right? From my low income raising, and, I wanted to win. I just wanted to win. And got into, the affluent side of things, won very early, despite challenges every single year, and then got more affluent jobs, right? And got obsessed with winning and really went away from my original goal, which was to create impact in low resource areas, not places where kids had everything and trainers and they got this coach and that coach. And so God just kind of woke me up, and I was like, wait, this isn't even what I got into this for. And, I've done all this, now I kind of roll in these entrepreneur circles, and they're like, we got to solve a problem. We got to solve a problem. And I was staring a problem in the face. There was no resources in certain communities in terms of volleyball. It was not very diverse. And I'd see those teams that didn't have a lot of resources when I was at tournaments. And I always felt a sense of guilt coming in there with my affluent team who doesn't even want me anyway. They don't even think I know what I'm doing. I'd be seen as a pro at another school, but not even making it about me, Taj. I saw the lack of resources in those areas and said, I have the ability to go back and help in those areas. And so I developed my business, Grit and Grind Athletics. And on top of going in those areas to teach volleyball, one of the biggest gaps I saw in my elite affluent athletes were they really weren't strong mentally. They weren't. They had more resources than any other generation, the kids we're coaching now. But they can't make the jump mentally, right? They didn't have any type of self-awareness. Their confidence was surprisingly low for kids that were trained and coached so much. And then my own story of not taking my own personal development more serious and really being totally immersed in professional development. Like I said, I went to college practices and I was like, oh, I already do this. I already set this up this way. So I did the work there, but I probably would have handled and been able to handle all of the controversy better had I really focused on my personal development. And I probably would have been out of it sooner. It wouldn't have taken 10 years. And I know I still coach at the college level, and it's a little bit different. I went here, it's HBCU. So there's issues, but not the issues I had in high school. So that the grit, obviously, is just mental toughness and stamina. And then grind is the work. And I think that athletes and coaches have got to combine both. All athletes and coaches. In particular, I focus in on low resource areas and female minority coaches and athletes. So that's kind of how it was birthed.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about you do, Tamika, is not only do you put an emphasis on serving those athletes, right, in those communities, the same communities that you came from, but you focus on developing the coaches as well. Like, you're a coach, your organization provides coaches for the coaching, so you can develop the coaches to coach the players. So I think the way you develop that system is really well thought out. How do you go about, like, I'm just curious, because it's one thing for you to develop the players because you're a coach. Obviously, you've been coaching. You were a baller in college as well. But how do you go about developing a coach to help them effectively coach their players? That's a whole different set of skills. So how do you go about doing that?
So I call it redefining a coach. And I sat in hundreds of hours of professional development, and nothing really. They never touched on personal development. They talked a little bit about leadership, but they didn't really talk about things that were relevant to your personal development to even lead, So the framework for my program is that we're redefining that. And so the order that I created that a coach needs to focus on to in the end develop athletes is a coach's personal development first, coach's professional development, right? Coach's development first, player personal development, coach's professional development, and then at the very end, player development. And I can say myself, I was doing it out of order. I was helping to create and influence and build women. Absolutely. I wasn't just helping to create these great athletes, right? And I was raised by my grandmother. So some people would say I was too strict, I'll be honest. But I was definitely about character and leadership, making good choices. But I was preaching that before I had developed my own self-awareness, increased my own emotional intelligence, right? And I wasn't prepared for the backlash, or I wasn't prepared to deal with this kind of kid or that kind of kid or this kind of parent and that kind of parent. And it really breaks you down and wears on you. So like you said, I coach coaches, and I start with reconnecting them to their why and then redefining what success looks like for them. So if I go to a coach and she's in the inner city, and winning, as in your record, probably isn't going to be her standard of success there. But if they've got a huge dropout rate, or a lot of girls aren't coming out for sports anymore because they're getting jobs, or I don't know, want to go chase the boys, then her standard of winning, all right, or her definition of winning is probably to increase attendance. And so I start from there, and then we go into some leadership, building a leadership culture, coaching Gen Z, creating systems in your personal life and your program. I'm a big proponent of creating systems. And that's because I knew I burnt out. And now I'm a single parent that coaches. And the only way I'm able to do that, do Grit and Grind Athletics, write a book, co-author a book with Taj, recruit. It's a lot of stuff. Some people can't believe it. And it's because of the systems I implement, which I learned as an athlete, right? To implement systems, just the way I do what I do every day. And so I really, there's no coaching clinic that ever touched on how to create balance with coaching. They're telling you, build relationships. Everything they were encouraging you to do that would help you be successful and win was requiring more time. But no one was telling you how you were going to keep your marriage, raise your kids, still, be a productive part of your family, and go win championships. And I followed that for a really long time. I had a kid at 30, and I remember thinking, if it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. I like my career. I worked the whole school year, the whole summer, every break, clinics, camps, whatever I could find. And you can really get lost in the sauce with chasing winning. And I think mine was an overkill because I had a chip on my shoulder for how I came into the business. No one wanted me there. So I was going to prove to you that I was super capable, had the work ethic. And so I tried to really talk to the coaches about, not letting their drive to be successful cause them to, just compromise their personal goals. It's all in one. It can go together. You don't have to do it like everybody. I watch coaches. I'll say guys, I'll pick on guys. Stay at the office. The football team is at the office, right? Doing nothing. But no one wants to be the first person to leave. And doing nothing these extra 2 or 3 hours after you guys are done, over the course of the years, you're really not raising your kid. I have friends that their dads were coaches. They don't get along well with their dad, but there's thousands of athletes that are going to be at their dad's funeral and say their dad changed their life. And so, I encourage minorities. I encourage anybody, going into coaching and athletics that, you don't have to do it the way it's been done. So I really preach to coaches to redefine coaching so they stay in it, so that we have representation. My kid is 5. She loves sports. And if minority coaches aren't supported, and it's supported from an aspect of your personal development is important in this, it's the most important thing. They're not going to stay in coaching. And then our little Black and brown kids, they're not going to be coached by anybody that looks like them. And that's what motivates me even more now than ever. That would probably be my why. And my why lives with me, and she's almost 5. So that totally increased my sense of urgency and clarity about what it is I was trying to do. What my end goal was. What is it? For them to stay in it, for them to not compromise their health, compromise their quality of life and their family, to go and help raise other people's kids. And I did that for a really long time.
Right. Yeah, Tamika, I love that. One of the things I love most is when people, just like Thomas was sharing, just like a lot of people that we have on these panels, their business was centered around something personal, something heart-centered, right? Something we always talk about at Self-Published in 30 Days is turning your pain into your purpose. Ooh. And that's what you did, right? That's what you've been able to do through your work. I want to get to the book. Obviously, you're about to be a two-time author shortly. That's the Athlete to Entrepreneur book. Tamika and I are co-authoring that, along with several other athletes turned entrepreneurs that you may or may not have seen on these panels. That's coming out shortly. But you have your own book, Grateful and Greedy. And that, matter of fact, I think
you got the book. You do got the book.
I was making sure because, I'm still moving in. We just moved to Austin. I wasn't sure if it was on this bookshelf, but I got the book right here. Yeah. Make sure you go grab your copy, reach out to Tamika, get in touch. Really enjoyed this read, just hearing more in depth on your story and just everything going into your business. Now, I want to hear how the book came about and then how that applies to the business. Like, did you write the book before you started Grit and Grind Athletics, or was it kind of at the same time?
So I wrote the book after. I started Grit and Grind Athletics March 2019. Decided I wanted to get out of coaching. So in June, when school was out, I was like, I don't care what I do. I'm not coaching a team, but I'm going to train. So immediately went into doing team camps. Then came over to help out my teammate at Prairie View, came out to help the program. And so I got busy, and then NCAA rules limited what I could do. And then COVID happened, that next March. So that year went really fast. And this was the first time ever I had sat down in my life, from being a kid chasing a dream. From 12 years old, when I saw my first WNBA game, I was chasing a dream of being an athlete. And full throttle. And this was the first time I had sat down, and I had something to say. My grandmother that raised me had just died in December. I had made sort of a career change. And I started to change my mindset about some things that I thought were important became less important. When you get to sit down for a minute, things get more clear. and loving a challenge. I saw this, write a book in 90 days. And I'm like, you can't write a book in 90 days, right? And decided to join that program, wrote the book in like 120 days, and really went back and forth about what angle I wanted to take the book in. So Grateful and Greedy comes from a teacher I worked with at the very last school. She was the bright light of being at this school. And she used to tell me if I started complaining or if she started complaining, she would say, grateful or greedy. And it triggered something in me because I grew up, my grandmother made us say a verse, this is the day the Lord has made, we should rejoice and be glad in it. And it was about gratitude. And mind you, she's teaching us this because, you know, I have a mom who's on drugs, we're low income, you know, but you should be grateful, right? When I looked around me, I knew that I should be grateful. My stuff was bad, but, you know, I had a pretty safe home environment. Just didn't have a lot of money, but had a lot of love and a lot of structure, a great foundation. And I started thinking about where maybe I had gone wrong with being so grateful that I got to this place of trying to impact others, trying to serve others, that I was a little bit unhappy and a little bit uncertain. And the book was a great way to reconcile my thoughts about that really tumultuous experience I had as a coach. And my brother, I remember him calling me, he was crying. He was sad that I never told him it was that bad. So me and my siblings are very close. But it was a unique situation, you know, being racially profiled and racial microaggressions. It's a very hard conversation to have. And people are having that conversation out loud now. And I just didn't feel like I could say it because I knew I was a hard worker. I knew I wasn't making excuses. But you're always afraid that somebody's going to say, maybe you're over exaggerating. Maybe that's not really happening. And so I talk about, going back to Grateful and Greedy, I decided that there was nothing wrong with focusing on myself this next phase of my life. And that's where I use the word greedy. And it doesn't mean I'm all for self, what helps me, but it just means, what are you passionate about? And what I was passionate about in coaching was impact. I probably could have went and did anything. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to help poor people. I knew that. And, you know, coaching just was, you know, it was right in front of my face. And that's the first thing I jumped on, is that you can do that through coaching. I could have did that through several different avenues. So the book is titled that, to encourage people that, and even athletes, right? We're on a team all of our life, and it's like, share the ball and, you know, share the glory and sacrifice self for the team. And I was still doing that as a full grown adult. It's just me. There was no team. I didn't have my daughter. I wasn't married. I was still sacrificing for the team. And it's like, what team? You know, so the book was all about me changing my mindset about winning. Like I said, I was chasing winning and I was losing. You know, I had anxiety at like 30, you know, maybe 28 years old. Very bad anxiety when I went to check emails, or, hey, can I meet with you? Or I never slept. I was constantly on go. I was struggling, and I was going to be okay with it. I was like, win a little bit more and then go be an athletic director. Take one more job and then go out a winner and go be an athletic director. I didn't even want to be an athletic director. I wanted to help coaches, but not in the way that an athletic director does. I wanted out of the politics of schools, you know, school sports. I really did. So the book is about me identifying where that you can be grateful or greedy mindset really went wrong for me. And then deciding you can be both. Right. You know, you can be grateful for what you have, but demand what you deserve. You can go full throttle after what you deserve, what makes you completely happy. And you need a break and a pause and a breath to do that. And COVID gave me that. So it started with the book. And then I started getting real clear about where I wanted the business to go, because it just started with camps. It's like, where can you take this? COVID happens. I'm like, we can go virtual. We can, you know, I was like really interested in mindset stuff. We can go mindset. I'm going to do teams. I'm going to do individuals. And then the sky's the limit. I have all these amazing ideas. And then I met Taj, and he's like, let's do a co-author project. And I met Marley, and she's doing this. And there's this whole world of people that saw a problem and wanted to fix it. You know, I saw a quote the other day: when you experience pain, you've found a problem to solve. And being a coach in the way that I was being a coach caused me a lot of pain. And so some I probably could have avoided, some that I couldn't have. It's just the way the world is. But I saw a problem to solve. Number one, I got to sports late. You know, I'm grateful for my journey, but I got to it very, very late. And so I want to help minority kids, you know, whatever sport they're interested in, be exposed early. I wanted them to have quality instruction. I wanted to support minority women coaches so they would have quality instruction. So back to the book, though. The book, each chapter has a theme, something I learned. It has some like never told before stories for people that even know me. What I took from those stories, what I learned as a kid that kind of stayed with me, and it kind of explained how I dealt with certain things in my life, the lens to which I see life. So I think, you know, it resonates with low-income kids. It resonates with a kid who just has a dream, a kid that has a dream that they don't see anybody doing that immediately in front of them, and they're just trying to wing it as they go. Obviously minority coaches, because we're still in the minority. A coach that wants to get into the business that just thinks it's going to be all X's and O's and I'm going to impact kids and chest bump and high five kids, and doesn't realize the game behind the game, which John Thompson talks about in his autobiography, the game behind the game. You know, if you get into coaching, you got to know that game behind the game if you want any longevity in it. So the book and the business is intertwined. All of this is intertwined. My theme word for the next decade is redefine. You got the permission to redefine whatever it is for yourself. Coaching, winning, success, parenting. You're an athlete, you know, you can redefine your life. You're an athlete the last 25 years. You can redefine success now. All right. Coach defines success. Coach has guided you and your team to success. And now, you know, you're the coach, you're the MVP of the team, you're everything. So
YB said, where there is pain, there is a problem to solve. He's quoting you directly right there. Yep. Yeah. That was a gem right there. That was for sure a gem. Thank you for sharing that, YB. Tamika, I want to be respectful of your time. Obviously, we can keep going on and on, but I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story, for sharing your heart-centered work. I was going to wrap up and ask you for like some final advice, but your story is the advice. The way you overcame the obstacles and the way you kind of walk people through that in your book and in the way that you run your programs and run your business, I think that's the example. I consider you someone who leads by example. So thank you for coming on and sharing today. Please tell people where they can get the book, how they can follow your work, how they can get in touch with you, all of that good stuff.
Awesome. So thank you for having me. I wish I had more time. I'm a coach, so I get to talking. And so the book is at TamikaNewman.com. So that's TamikaNewman. On Twitter, I'm at Coach No Excuses. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know the link by heart, but I'm on LinkedIn, Tamika Newman, MBA, I think it says. So yeah, find me on Twitter. Instagram is, gosh, it's leaving me. Find me on Twitter and then
yeah, I think IG is Tamika, something with GGA for Great and Grind.
Tamika.r.Newman_GGA.
Thanks, we brought it back. I got you. You know, I got to support. But Tamika, thank you. I'm gonna let you go. I know you got practice or a game today.
We have a game. We're in the conference semifinals. We're in Birmingham, Alabama. So we're in the conference semifinals. We play University of Arkansas Pine Bluff today at 4.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, on the SWAC Digital Network.
Yeah, tune in. Watch it. Go support. Yeah. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. Good luck on your game. I know you got those girls ready to go, ready to ball out. So much luck to you, and we'll be in touch soon, Tamika. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. All right, Dana. Before we move on, do we have Shamiel present? Let's see. Okay, perfect. Our next guest, this is another guy that I've had the pleasure of connecting with. Probably last year, I believe I connected with him. And of course, nothing but good things have come from it. So I'm like, man, we got this panel coming up. Would like to be a part of it. Let me introduce him so you can hear from him directly. So Shamiel Gary is a former NFL athlete who has now shifted his mission to impact people in a different way. He's helping them become elite in their everyday lives. He has spoken to over 100,000 people at businesses, school assemblies, chambers of commerce, student council conferences, Head Start conferences, FCAs, and juvenile detention centers. That's a busy man right there. His mission is to creatively inspire the world, rich or poor, old or young, marginalized or famed, to overcome life's many adversities and realize their dreams are meant to empower others. Please welcome the athlete entrepreneur, Mr. Shamiel Gary. Shamiel, what's up, brother?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, just for anybody tuning in live right now or anybody who may be listening to the recording, I have to acknowledge Shamiel for being here. We had a conversation this morning. He's a little bit under the weather, but thank you for pushing through and still showing up to add value to everybody showing up, man. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, definitely. One thing I learned after leaving sports is, the 2 F's, being able to follow up and follow through. And, many athletes miss this mark right here. I feel like, miss the mark of following up and following through because it's so important. And I think many people miss it, actually. If you look at, your day-to-day job, many people don't follow through. The people that are at the top, typically, they are extreme individuals who take following through very seriously. They take it personally. So even though my stomach is hurting, my head is hurting, I wanted to make sure, I followed up with you and I followed through with this engagement.
I definitely appreciate that, man, because nobody would have been mad at you if you didn't show up. So thank you for being an example of being like, you know what? I said I was good. You like Jordan in the flu game, man. Like you just showed up. You go push through regardless. So I'd like to dive in, man, and just talk about your transition a little bit, because I know that when you and I first connected last year, that was one of the things we shared with just some of the challenges that come with transitioning out.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a 2-part question. The first one is, do you feel like you were prepared to transition into life after football? And then also, like, what was the process like, just from like a high level view?
Right. I think I was prepared, but then on the same end, I wasn't prepared because, regardless of how much networking, regardless of how many boot camps you go to and how much planning, there's nothing like the real thing. And so when the real thing came, I was like, dang, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this emotion. I wasn't expecting to kind of feel lost, because I was always a guy that prided myself on being more than an athlete and having plans to run a business and just do different things. You know what I mean? And so when it was time for me to transition, I got a concussion with the Bills and I'm driving home 19 hours after accepting an injury settlement. And I realized, I was like, damn, it's all gone. Like I like in that moment, because I knew I wanted to be done. Like I had no more passion left for the game. And so and my neck was hurting. So I was like, man, I got a 7-year-old daughter now, but during that time she was 3. And so I'm driving home and I'm, just reliving the massages. I'm reliving the games. I'm reliving like everything that the NFL brought you. And it's true. The NFL stands for not for long. It doesn't last. It comes in a blink of an eye. It's the same thing with high school and college. We get caught up in the hustle and bustle of trying to achieve different goals, but we never take a moment to breathe and enjoy where we are at. And so during that drive, that was kind of my moment to enjoy where I was during that time. And so I get home and, I did what any normal person would do after driving 19 straight hours off of Red Bull. I went to the car wash and to clean my car, man. And so, man, I cleaned my car like I was a master detailer in that moment. You know what I mean? I'm scrubbing the crevices, finding Skittles, finding pennies. I'm scrubbing the tires. And then I finally got a chance to get to the trunk, but I forgot I had all my bags in the trunk. So I'm trying to, be clever and lift up the bags and trying to vacuum underneath them. And I heard a little voice say, Shamiel, this is what you're doing in your life. You're holding on to the baggage that I'm trying to get you to let go of. And I was like, dang, that's heavy. I was like, dang, guy, you're trying to punch me in the stomach right now. And so from that point forward, I went on this mission of like going hiking, reading self-development books, just trying to figure out who Shamiel was, because I did realize I was holding on to a lot of baggage of shame, regret, embarrassment. My mom passed away like 2 years before that, and I was the rock for the family, and I never allowed anyone to see me cry or anything like that. And what I realized was there's tons of people with baggage, and I got a chance to play in front of stadiums and people, but I realized I could shift my mission from that right there of entertaining people, but also shifting it from entertaining people to impacting stadiums of lives in a different way. And so one of my goals now is to when I die, I want to have a stadium full of people, because that means like I left my mark on their lives.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing, man. And it's been great since we connected. I'm able to follow your work and see you living that out. You know, that impact that you wanted to have. You know, you do that in everyday life. There's a couple of things I want to take it back to when you mentioned, because I think this will be good for people to hear who are maybe currently playing or have just transitioned out. You said that while you were playing, you were networking and trying to put yourself in position. But then you also said, it's almost like I always say, it doesn't get real until it gets real.
Right.
You know, like, and I didn't play professionally, but like even in college, you may do an internship here or there if you have time, or be like, oh, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do this career. But until you're actually in it, experiencing it day to day, you don't necessarily know if that's a good fit or not. Right. So I love that you brought that up, because do you feel like while you were playing and doing the networking events, or just going to some of the different services that the NFL offers, do you feel like, was it more so because you weren't actually doing it, back to the it doesn't get real until it gets real, or was it that the resources aren't adequately preparing you? How do you know about that?
I mean, I think your statement of it doesn't get real until it gets real is 100% correct. Just from the standpoint of, you think you want, I know a lot of people who think they want to coach. I think I heard I forgot her name that fast, but
Tamika.
So forgive me, Tamika. Yeah, I got a headache and everything. You know,
you good, man. You good.
But she talked about how people want to coach, but then they realize it's long hours, and then you realize like, nah, that's not really what I want to do. And so what I was just trying to do was I was just trying to expose myself to as many things as possible. And Fred Taylor says this on the I Am Athlete podcast, I think. He says exposure leads to expansion. And that's all I was trying to do right there, was just expose myself to as many things as possible, because I thought I wanted to do real estate. I just knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, man. Like, I grew up, like, I would knock on people's doors, and I walked dogs when I was 9 years old. Like, I'm not proud of this one right here, but I stole candy when I was like 14 and would go to the school and sell it at school. You know what I mean? Like, I was always just trying to be an entrepreneur. And so I was just trying to expose myself to as many things as possible. And then once I was done, it's crazy how God works. Like, you think you want to do something, and then you get presented with something else. And what going to boot camps and networking events allowed me to see was, many times opportunities are disguised as inconveniences. And so those boot camps, those networking events, that was inconvenience. I didn't really or meeting with a real estate agent instead of I was living in Miami. I was meeting with realtors, commercial realtors and residential realtors, instead of going to the beach, because I just wanted to learn more about real estate. But just from those inconveniences right there has led to so many different opportunities. Like, even talking to you right now, I don't like talking, this isn't fun right now. My head hurts. Or even when the first time we talked, I would be alone 24/7. I'm cool with just being in my room and just chilling. But I know that's not going to help my future. And I love just building relationships. You know what I'm saying? So I flipped the switch of my perspective of many times inconveniences can actually be opportunities. And so that's why I try to go to networking events, boot camps. And I think the resources that they gave was good. It could be better. Everything could always be better. But I think the statement of it doesn't get real until it gets real is definitely true, because you don't know what you want to do until you actually go to the day-to-day stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, I love your statement about exposure leads to expansion. And I think you said you got that from the I Am Athlete podcast. But
it's mine now. I already gave him credit. From
okay,
now on,
all right, cool.
I'm going to say it from now on. Like,
that's a registered trademark of Shamiel
Yeah.
Gary now, man. But yeah, man, I love that, because a lot of people don't know this, man, but I'm the same way. And people wouldn't know this by listening to you speak, that you just love being alone. It's not that we don't like people, but I'm an introverted guy too, man. But like you said, you have to connect with people. You have to get out there, because as much as we might enjoy sitting on the couch in silence and reading a book or something, nothing's going to happen there. We can't impact people that way, and people can't impact our lives that way. So I love that you shared all that, man.
Can I add something real quick?
Oh, go ahead, please.
Because you know, you hear, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I want to make a little funny skit. So if anyone like sees this, you can steal it from me. I case everything, copy and steal everything. So you know what I mean. I give you credit one time, and then I take it for myself. But you hear athletes say this all the time: get out of your comfort zone, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You know, but they're not talking about like life. They're talking about running sprints. They're talking about in the weight room. They're talking about on the football field. Because if you're like, hey man, we need to go to this networking event, they're like, nah, that's really not my thing. Hey man, let's learn more about let's go to this finance boot camp. Nah, I don't got time for that. I gotta run. Well, you just told me you wanted to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, so why not put yourself in those situations? And so you know, I do truly challenge people, all athletes. If you're going to say get comfortable with the uncomfortable, mean it in all phases of your life, not just on the field. So that was my bars.
Yeah, you could drop the mic on that one, man. I want to get more into everything you're doing now, because like I said, man, ever since we connected, been follow it, love the work you're doing. I can see where you're heading, because I feel like, you know, you're really just getting warmed up with the impact that you want to have. Like you're talking about filling up stadiums and stuff. I definitely see that for you one day, man. And then, but I don't want to overlook this, because I wrote this down earlier when you were talking about the baggage, that example you gave, which is a beautiful metaphor. How you really laid that out, the baggage in your trunk. I think, like you said, a lot of athletes, our sport is our outlet for that baggage. No matter what's going on in life, you can always go to the field or the court or whatever it is you play, and that's your sanctuary.
Right.
Even you know, we talk to people who have childhood trauma they're still dealing with, and you can just throw all that into your sport, and you don't have to deal with it. So then you find yourself, your career's over, you're in your early mid-20s, and you're like, oh, I still got this stuff from like 10, 15 years ago, and throughout the course of my playing career. How did you begin to, you know, aside from exposing yourself to different things and diving into personal development, how did you begin to like unpack all that stuff that was pushed down by football and start to process it so that you could move on into the next stages of your life?
Right. Man, that's a good question right there. It was definitely a journey. So I kind of did it in a process like I was taking care of my car. And so, you know, I think about it from the standpoint of with the car, you need to go get the tires checked, the oil checked, get your brakes checked. And many times in our lives, we kind of check the engine and check the oil one time a year. And that is like January 1st when we want to set new goals. And we that's like surface level. You know what I mean? We really don't even take like the engine out. We really don't even like really check what's going on underneath the car. And so I thought about that. It was crazy. Like that whole experience of cleaning out my car. I got so many metaphors and analogies, and I started to apply to my life. So what I started with was every Sunday, I took 30 minutes to an hour to sit down and write how I felt. You know, how I felt about like leaving the game, how I felt about my mom passing away, how I felt about, you know, me being afraid to make a mistake. Like, where did that come from? And I started to like just go back to when I was 10, 12, 13. And I realized, okay, I'm doing this on my own, but I mean, I don't actually change the oil in my car. I'm not that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather go get a manicure or a pedicure. That's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? So I realized I need to find a counselor. And so I made sure I went to go see a counselor at least once a month. And so through the NFL, that is one thing I can't say about the NFL is like through the NFL, I got free counseling sessions. And so, you know, I utilized that. And so I went to counseling. And then from counseling, I I started to apply some of the things that the counselor was telling me, some of the things that I was writing down, and I would be intentional with, one thing that I needed to work on. So, I was very bad at taking time for Shamiel. And so that's why I wanted to go hiking. That's why I wanted to go like to Colorado or California or something like that, to just be in a space where there's no phone, there's no like stimulus to take me away from my thoughts. And so once I did that right there, I started to discover new things about myself, treasure that was, lost with the baggage being piled on top. Because many times, we have dreams and aspirations. We have like treasure underneath there when we were like 10 and 12, but we put it to the back of our heads because, some type of fear, or because of a parent dying, or a parent saying we can't do something, etc. So I started to discover some of these things, and it was a cool process. So I started with Sunday, to the counseling, to being intentional and applying. It's no point in like, doing all this stuff, you're not gonna apply anything. So I started to actually apply what I was doing, and then take time for myself once a month to get away from, the world in a way.
Yeah. Man, all right. So two big things I want to pull from that, Shamiel. And I know we're here to talk to athletes, entrepreneurs, but the great part about this is that what you just shared applies to everybody, about how you were able to move through a difficult season in your life. Two of the main things I love about that is, number one, the intentional action that you took. Like, healing doesn't happen automatically. You can't just sit back and like the fact that you took action and were intentional about writing stuff down, carving out time to get what was going on in your head out onto some paper, get out into nature, be alone with yourself. That's a beautiful thing. And I love that you also sought help, man. Something that's very difficult for athletes. A lot of people, men, men are so like prideful. Right. I don't need help. I got it on my own. I was talking to Thomas earlier about being a lone wolf, but I love that you were able to put your pride to the side and go seek some help from a professional. Right. Yeah, go ahead, please.
My bad. And the thing is, we deserve counseling. Like we deserve. Like, it's so silly to ever think that something's wrong with me because I want to go to counseling. I'm not man enough if I want to go to counseling. No. You deserve to have someone who gives you their undivided attention. Because how many times do you talk to someone and you telling them something deep, and then they talking about TikTok or Snapchat, or they want to like tell you like, oh yeah, I've been through something like that. I'm like, why can't you just ask more questions about, what's going on in my life? And so that counselor, that they'll hit you with, man, my mom died. So how does that make you feel? Well, I'm feeling like this. Okay, so have you seen that affect you in different areas? They asking 10 questions before you move on from that one thing, because many times when you say something one time, you're not truly saying the full scope of like everything of how you feel. You know what I mean? And so many times when you're talking to someone, you say one thing and they take it for like what it means, and that's not really where you were getting at. You know what I'm saying? And then the next thing is like, I want to let people know, like, healing and building something great is not sexy. When you get injury, when you get a tear your ACL, that process of getting back to where you need to be is not sexy. So when we have baggage, the process of healing ourselves is not a sexy process, but we need to go through it to reach our full potential and impact as many lives as possible.
Hey, Shamiel, go ahead and drop the mic again, man. You just went in for about 2 minutes straight, man. Thank you for sharing that. But that's an important message that people need to hear. You did a beautiful job of laying that out, man. All right, let's talk about what you're doing now, because like I said, I love what you're up to. How did you decide, once you went through that healing process, okay, this is my life's work, right? I always say there's a huge difference between your job and your work, and you are someone who's a shining example of someone who's found their work. So how did you know what your work was going to be? How did you go about pursuing it and building it to get it to where it is today?
I mean, it wasn't like a tough process. I mean, I would drop my daughter off at school. I was watching what was that? Paw Patrol. I was watching Paw Patrol. My daughter, like, she watched that every morning at that time. So I was eating Fruit Loops and watching Paw Patrol. And that spring before, I did like 30 speaking engagements in a month for free. And I was like, man, as I'm like eating Fruit Loops, I'm like, that's what I want to do right there. Like that felt so good to be able to give advice, but not just give advice because it feels like, oh yeah, it's about Shamiel, but give advice to make an impact on someone's life. And that one word, they could be on E in that moment, but that like one sentence or that one thought, that one exposure to the thing that I said could just give them that extra gas to help them go that extra mile. You know what I mean? And I love that right there. And so man, I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, you know, like networking is key. So guess what I did? I started to reach out to people and let them know what I wanted to do. And one person said, hey, you should call this person. I called that person. They were part of a speakers bureau. I got the whole game right there. And from there, I started to, you know, get better at my follow up and follow through, because, you know, I would call someone one time and they wouldn't answer, or they'll give me a no. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, but I started to realize, okay, I'm not gonna get any business if I don't start following up and like following through with like emails and following through on my website and different things like that. But I kind of shifted, you know, I'm still doing motivational speaking. I'm still, but the pandemic made me realize like, I want to impact lives in a different way. I want to impact athletes. So I still want to speak. I still speak. Not I want to, I still speak. But I actually just started a new business called the Athlete Roundtable. And that business is a holistic development driven business focused on high school, middle school, high school, and college athletes, exposing them to new things. You know what I mean? So it's all about the 5 E's: exposure, education, execution, empowerment, and the student athlete experience. You know what I mean? And so we have right now, what I'm doing is we have a weekly Sunday call at 6:00, and you know, we talk about habits. I bring on a chef. We all cook. This next month we're doing a financial literacy month, so we're doing budgeting, credit. You know, going deep into financial literacy, because when I was at OSU, when I was at, nothing against any of these programs, because many times it's just a time constraint. And so they would bring in people 5 times a year, you know, and they bring in people in the fall when I'm focused on, I'm trying to ball this year. I'm trying to get to the league, you know, like, and the same thing in the NFL, they'll bring someone during fall camp. Listen, I don't care how good your message is. I'm trying to make the team. I don't know what you're talking about right now. So what I do is it's a weekly call, and it's a text group, and I have replays of the calls. And so therefore it's constantly being ingrained in your mind of what we've been talking about. Now a year has went by, and we have done 48 calls of professional development. So you telling me you're not gonna grow from that experience right there? And so I'm in the process of building that, and you know, that's a whole building something. Like I said, it's not sexy. So I'm enjoying that whole process right now.
That's awesome, man. You're really checking all the boxes. Like you said, it's not just, you know, you're going over financial literacy, even getting on there and cooking with these guys, man. That's or not. It's not just guys. It's men and women, right?
Yeah, men and women, all sports.
Yeah. All sport. I think that's important too, man. Because you see, I feel like, of course, if you want to stick with your sport, that's great. But the fact that you're like, we all have the athlete mindset. It doesn't matter what sport you play. Like you can get back to all of them. So, like I said, I love that you're checking all the boxes. And making sure they have everything they need. It's a holistic approach. That's what's really cool about it, man.
Yeah.
You kind of already alluded to it. I know you're just starting the building blocks of building that program out, but what's next for Shamiel Gary, man? What can the world expect down the line in the years to come?
So the Athlete Roundtable will be in a high school, a middle school, and a college near you. I am focused on I would love to be in a D1 program, but I'm focused on like D2s and D1 AAs and D3s and JUCOs, because typically those programs, they have one person doing 5 different roles. So, you know, you tell me if you're really allocating the right amount of resources to the student athlete, if you're doing 5 different things. Probably not, you know. So that's one of my goals right there. I'm coming out with at least 3 ebooks for the Athlete Roundtable. I just finished the 40-day affirmation devotional. So it's you know how we have prayer devotional. This is an affirmation devotional for athletes. And then I have a hydration, and then I have a new children's book coming out in September. So I'm working on that as well. I got something else I'm working on, but I'm gonna keep that on the low because
right, that's top secret for now.
top secret. Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. You got a lot of different stuff going on, a lot of ways you're serving and helping people out. Can you please tell people before we wrap up how they can get in touch with you, how they can get the ebooks, how they can be a part of the Athlete Roundtable, all of that?
Yeah, so go to theathleteroundtable.com. If you want to be a part of the calls, just scroll down just a tad bit, and it says join the Sunday Athlete Roundtable call, and you'll see information to fill out the form. If you want to get in contact with me, the best way is, man, you can email me. I just feel like we're in a phase where like I'm okay with you sending me a DM and texting me or whatever, because I don't know, people. I'm about to rant on that right there, but real quick, people kill me. We're talking on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has the capabilities of being able to send you like I can send documents and all that. Then you send me your email, and now it's a whole nother thing I have to check. So to all the people, just message me on LinkedIn, Shamiel Gary. You can find me on Instagram, s.gary7, as well as I don't really use Twitter. My Facebook page is Shamiel Gary, where I kind of like update stuff. But and then I have my website, my personal website is shamielgary.com. If you want to book me to speak at your organization, as well as, and then the Athlete Roundtable. And so what I got cool with the Athlete Roundtable too is I'm starting a speakers bureau within the Athlete Roundtable. And so if you want to book any of my speakers, that's part of the speakers bureau of the Athlete Roundtable. Go to theathleteroundtable.com. There's just me on there, but I will have some people here soon within the next 2 weeks.
Awesome, man. Well, Shamiel, appreciate you coming on, man. Especially, hey, I can't tell. I don't think anybody can tell that you're not feeling 100%, man. So what you heard from Shamiel today is only a taste. He's not even feeling his best. Imagine what he's saying. Speak on it, Shamiel. RB says, speak on it. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, Shamiel, I'm gonna let you go, man. I'm gonna let you rest up, so you can bounce back. Thank you again for coming on and sharing. Definitely value all the things that you do, man. All the wisdom you shared today. And really glad we connected last year, man. It's just the beginning for all the things we can work on together. So,
definitely, I appreciate you. And can I say one last thing? I apologize.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Is we talked about like the Sundays as far as like cleaning out your trunk, or cleaning out the baggage. I truly believe everyone should do at least 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, whatever you want to do. But check on your 5 F's. So family, faith, mental fitness and physical fitness, finance, and your field. So like career field. Check on those and rate it. And then so rate it 1 to 10. And then after you rate it, write down one thing you can do that day to make it a little bit better. We're not trying to go from a 1 to a 10. We're just trying to go from 1 to like a 1.5. And so now you're putting on your mind like, okay, dang, I need to call my mom, or I need to be better in this area. Because I feel like I say this all the time is if one of the F's is effed up, your whole life is effed up. So that's kind of what I say right there. So I encourage people to kind of check in with themselves in that area, and that can get you started with the cleaning out your trunk right there.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Strong advice. That audit, that self-audit right there. Yeah. That's strong, man. What would you say? One of your F's is effed up? Your whole life is effed up?
Oh, yeah. Right there.
That's a good one, man. All right, brother. Shamiel, thank you, man. Everybody, please follow this man. Get in touch with him. Sign up for that Athlete Roundtable. Get the books, all of that. Shamiel, thank you for being here with us today, man. We'll talk soon.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too, brother.
All right.
All right, everybody. This has been another Athlete to Entrepreneur panel. We just heard from Thomas Williams, Tamika Newman, and Shamiel Gary. As you can tell, they were on fire. We will be back next month. I'll get back to you with the dates that posted. I want to thank Dana Gunn. Our programming director at Self Publishing 30 Days, for being on the 1 to 2s, making everything flow smoothly. Thank you for doing that, Dana. Thank you for the team at Self Publishing 30 Days. This whole event is sponsored by Self Publishing 30 Days. Make sure you visit selfpublishing30days.com. This is the year for your new book. This is also brought to you by Thrive After Sports. You can get the book at thriveaftersportsbook.com or by going to tajdeshawn.com and just clicking on the book tab. Make sure you tune in with Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast. Make sure you tune in with Thrive After Sports podcast. I appreciate you all for being here. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Peace. Thank you, YB.